Here's my tweet. Retiring because rehabbing is too hard is the most millennial thing ever. Hashtag Andrew Luck. Now, first of all, I understand that on Twitter, sarcasm, snarkasm, tongue-in-cheek comments don't always translate. I do think by now I've been doing this long enough that there are plenty of people, my friends, especially in the business and listeners and viewers or whatever, that understand I'm a smartass. I always have been. I always will be. And if I can't find something funny with the things in life, then you know what? Strike me down, because I like to make fun of things in life. I'm actually an Andrew Luck fan. A year ago, I was on First Things First with Nick Wright. And he questioned, why do people think Andrew Luck's so good? And I was like, well, because he won 33 games with a terrible team his first 3 years in the National Football League. He had a bad GM, he had a terrible coach, and yet he found a way. Bruce Arians was actually the better coach because Chuck Pagano got sick, but then they had to give the job back to Chuck Pagano. These are all things that I've said. These are all things on the record. And while it was snarkasm and sarcasm and tongue-in-cheek, the fact is that I think we can also admit this is kind of part of whether it's the millennial generation or the new generation in sports. No, he's not a typical millennial. He does not have a perfectly coiffed beard, nor does he go tight on the sides. He doesn't roll up his pants. Okay, he's not a hipster. But there are characteristics of millennials that people are latching onto, and me making fun of those characteristics of millennials, which are real legit things, is I think what brought a lot of this backlash. Let me just say this, and I'm going to say this one time. I understand if you don't like me or like my tweet, or you think that I'm characterizing somebody as something they're not, that's fine. But I'm only going to point out that to people like Torrey Smith, who I don't have a bone to pick with, to others in the media or in sports, if you want to go to me stealing credit cards 23 years ago, you're going to have to deal with the fact that those questions have been asked, that has been answered, we've all moved on. And if you think that I can stop or should stop commenting on sports because you don't like my opinion because of something I did as a freshman in college, nearly a quarter century ago, I think you're going to have to look in your own past and think, all right, what's the worst thing you've done in the last 25 years? Do you want that brought up every time you get into a sports discussion? Look, dude, if you haven't figured it out, millennials are wired differently. They just are. And those of us who are now creeping up on middle age, we think a lot of it is funny. Some of it's interesting. Some of it has great perspective, but it's definitely different. Andrew Luck's a different dude. He's 29 years old and his body hurts and he doesn't want to rehab anymore. We're in the same field, right? This is the same sport that gave us Brett freaking Favre, didn't he? Brett Favre's dad died. He played. Brett Favre, you want to know why it went bad with the New York Jets? He had a torn bicep. He played. Brett Favre played in the worst weather behind some bad offensive lines. At times didn't have skill position guys around him. Sometimes he did. And he played every day, and that has been championed. That is a football mentality. Ronnie Lott cut off his finger to play in a game. Did happen, right? I didn't say that the new generation doesn't think, that's really stupid. And that they're not right for thinking it, but there is a new way of thinking and looking at football and looking at the business of sports. Some of it is smart and profound, and some of it is not. And look, Andrew Luck runs the benefit of the fact that he does have a ton of money, and he comes from a good environment. He has an awesome family. He went to Stanford, and he's got other things in life. So this is kind of the perfect scenario for him to walk away. Calvin Johnson, the same. Calvin Johnson, smart dude, ton of money, already achieved great success, and he was like, not doing it anymore. Body hurts. Don't feel like it. Even when we create an era in sports where you cannot touch the quarterback. Remember, think about this. Andrew Luck plays for a team which has been remade with the sole purpose of him not getting hurt anymore. Right? That was how Ryan Grigson most screwed it up. Was they didn't protect him. So Chris Ballard comes in and he's like, what's our best asset? How do we protect our best asset? And he went about doing it, and he's done a great job. And then you're in a sport where now you can't even touch the quarterback. Below the knee, can't touch him. Above the neck, can't touch him. Releases the ball, can't touch him. Definitely can't pick him up and throw him down. Can't land on him. Can't sneeze on him. Can't fart near him. Can't do anything to him. Why? Because they're important. And we don't want to see what's happening with Andrew Luck. That's why Brady can still play. That's why Breeze can still play. That's why Ben Roethlisberger can still play. That's why Phillip Rivers can still play. Look, the new generation, they want to have fun. The old generation used to say the fun was in winning. Now, the new generation just wants to have fun every day. You do remember when the Eagles won the championship, right? Remember when the Eagles won the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Remember that? And Lane Johnson, their star left tackle, said they don't have any fun over there. And the only response the Patriots had was to go win another Super Bowl, which is the real fun. That's the older school mentality of the fun is not in the process. The fun is in the ultimate result. And whether it's a millennial idea, a new age idea, an Andrew Luck idea, but he said, it's not fun anymore. I used to have fun playing, now I don't have fun playing. Right? That's what he said. It's not fun. Taking away the joy of football. So I guess I don't understand why dudes are so mad. I'm not questioning whether or not his body hurts. I don't really know what's wrong with him because we've been lied to so many times, which, by the way, is why Colts fans are pissed. I don't even think they're pissed. I mean, they're probably a little ticked that he's walking away, but it's more, wait, this is the second time in 3 years that we were told Andrew Luck's going to play, and now he's not going to play. And I don't spend money on season tickets. Do you know why? This is why. Because you spend money to see one guy play, and now that guy's like, can't do it. Body hurts. Sorry. And the percentage of guys that are more educated that play football, the percentage of guys that understand, hey, I'm going to get my money and I'm going to get out. We talked about this with Antonio Brown. Like, Antonio Brown probably don't want to play after this contract. Le'Veon Bell had enough money where he's like, I'm going to sit for a year. I'm good. I made more money than I ever could have fathomed. These guys are smarter. They do. And on some level, I think they do fear the potential to have brain injuries. I think they fear the potential to be almost disfigured like some of these, like Brian Baldinger is with his finger that points out, or simply walk in pain. It doesn't mean that's what Andrew Luck is going to suffer from, because this does feel like there's just something wrong. Maybe he thinks he saw what happened to Kevin Durant tearing his Achilles tendon when it felt like a calf, it felt like an ankle, and then all of a sudden he thinks that could be me, and I just don't have the heart to do it. I get it. But if you think this has been the mentality of football players for the 100 years of football, you're simply not paying attention. In surfing, they say Eddie would go. Right? There's a famous Hawaiian surfer, right, who would go the biggest and most treacherous waves. Of course, he died surfing big waves. People do not mention that. It's like the marathon, right? A marathon was a century who ran from Marathon, Greece to Athens to warn that an attack was coming. People forget to mention that the century died upon delivering the news that they were being attacked. But the surfer mentality has always been Eddie would go. The marathon runner's mentality was you just find a way to finish. And the football player's mentality was play through pain. You figure it out. You put on your bonnet, you snap up your chin strap, and you gut it out. And the reward is in winning and pushing through pain. Those dudes are wired differently. You don't think football players are wired differently? It's amazing, right? The things they will put their body through. And Andrew Luck's like, nah, me, I'm out. And while I understand it, if you don't think that's a departure from where we've always been, and if you're seriously bothered by what I thought was a kind of sarcastic, snarky, tongue-in-cheek comment about such a sea change, and maybe it's not even in what he's done, because we've seen it a little bit limited before, right? Barry Sanders did it, Calvin Johnson did it, now he's done it. But from the quarterback position, which we do everything possible to make those guys happy, to make those guys safe, in his prime, that's a big thing. But if you're seriously bothered by me pointing out the new generation in athlete that has something else going, in the search for joy, these are all new ideas. Right? It's the generation me. Go up and look at what all the things that define millennials are. They want to work in groups, but they do want confirmation and affirmation of their success. They're willing to move. Anyone who hires a millennial will say, you know what? It's amazing. They're really smart. They're kind of worldly. They come in, sort of think they know everything, but they'll get after it and work hard. Then they want to raise like 2 weeks later. That sound like any football players, you know? Want to raise as soon as they see any sort of success, even though their contract says otherwise? I mean, all these kids in college transferring, you don't think that's the search for success and the willingness to go elsewhere? Nobody wants to sit. Why? Nobody wants to redshirt. Nobody wants to back anybody up because that's not fun. The fun is in actually playing and winning and producing, and then ultimately they want to get paid. They want to get paid in college. Then once they get paid in college, they want to get paid in high school. It's a now. And some of this has always existed, but now it's become not just more present, but in the world of social media, it's become okay. It's become championed. You go, Andrew Luck. You go explore the world. You go find yourself. You don't need football. And that's a departure from what our values always were about football players being special. Boxers are wired different, right? Boxers are always carried out. Champion is never carried on top of his shoulders out of the ring. They're always carried out of the ring. I mean, honestly, Floyd Mayweather is like he's like a diabolical genius because he keeps finding fights that he can win. But eventually, like Muhammad Ali, they all get carried out. And that's always been football players, where you go until you're shot. Peyton Manning, yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but he couldn't throw a football anymore. And the new generation, maybe they're smarter. Maybe they don't care as much about the ultimate success. Maybe they just get that it's a short-term profession, get a lot of money and get out. But if you tell me that I'm a jerk or an idiot or my past 23 years ago is your reason for hating me in my tweet, kind of think you're missing the point.